3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter. Hope you guys are having a great holiday season. And guys, if this is your first time listening, thank you so much. Welcome. Hope you guys enjoy what you hear. And if you've been listening for a little bit, you know we're in the middle of our real holiday series of holiday movies. So we're actually extending that until the end of January, just because there's some people I wanted to record with who have some holiday movies they really like. Just our schedules couldn't meet and sync up here in December, so we're gonna go ahead and extend that till January. By late January, maybe that first week of February at the latest, we will also have our best and worst of 2019 up for you guys. That is, if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, you know it's my favorite podcast that we do each year. I freaking love it. And I am working on draft roughly 12 of both lists currently. Still fine-tuning, still tweaking, leaving all my notes. So, yeah, we'll have that for you guys in about a month at the latest. So I'm really excited to get to that. But what I'm excited about to talk about today with you guys is 21 Bridges, which I actually saw back when it came out in November. And I was actually going through and I went, did I review 21 Bridges? I was like, oh my god, I didn't. How did I not review that? So 21 Bridges, of course, stars... this is not a Black Panther 2 sequel, unfortunately, but it does star one of my favorite actors right now in Mr. Chadwick Boseman. I have said since 42, of course, the Jackie Robinson movie, that he's special. I was like, this brother's really special, and I've been excited to see what he's done since then. I actually remember seeing him in, not just in 42, but I remember on seeing Get On Up and just going, oh man, this dude is amazing. I will completely pretend that he wasn't in Gods of Egypt because that movie is terrible. But yeah, Black Panther he's earned a couple mess ups, and thankfully this is not one of them. I will say, I think this film is going to find it's going to find a pretty cult following on like digital and on Blu-ray when it does come out to video. I'll tell you right now, I'll buy this first day just because I really did enjoy this. So the plot's very simple here. So it goes ahead and we're following Chadwick Boseman's character, and he lost his dad. I want to say to a routine traffic stop. Guy went ahead and killed him. He plays Andre Davis. And I think what I appreciate the most about this movie is it starts off with a Bible verse. Now, obviously, if you listen to the podcast for a decent amount of time, good grief, you guys know that it's fun to just take shots at religion. It's funny, even as a Christian. It's like, haha, it's always amusing to me. But I really appreciate the fact it started off with Romans 13:4, which I'll read to you guys real quick. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he breathed not only he beareth, not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God. And they really kind of play that out throughout the whole movie. He's almost like not the angel of death, but the movie does a great job of showing how Andre is not about people messing with him. He will fire his gun when it's necessary, and I really appreciate the fact that they kind of established that from jump. What I find interesting too about this movie, Chadwick Boseman, he's at the peak of his career. I'm sure, I bet if he had $1 for the amount of time that people saw him on the street and immediately crossed his arms, he would own Marvel Studios at this point. That poor man having to deal with that, but I do it too. But the fact that this movie does lean, not heavily, but does address the elephant in the room pretty early on. He's a black man who's a cop, so there is that pull of, I gotta be faithful to my community, but I have to be faithful to, my inner community, my people, black people, and I really appreciate the way that they address it early on, but don't hammer you over the head with it, which I think is a very hard balance to strike, because that plot, that concept does come up later in the movie, because one of the people he is chasing in this film is black. His brother Michael, who's played by Stephan James. And if you do not know who Stephan James is, he was in Selma as John Lewis. I totally forgot he was in the When the Game Stands Tall. I didn't mind When the Game Stands Tall. But the movie that I remember him in is If Beale Street Could Talk, which I was going to review this. I was going to review last year. I think I'm going to go ahead and review that for our Black Film series, which is going to launch in February for Black History Month. I think he is just an incredible actor, and whatever he's got coming up, he's on a show called Homecoming, which I haven't heard of, but I might have to start watching just because. Oh, the Julia Roberts show, he's on that. Oh, okay, well, damn, I might have to start watching that now. But Mr. James is a very special young man, and I really think he could be something moving forward. And the interesting conflict in this movie is not just between Andre and really, the badge and what that means and how he's defined by that. His father was a cop, so there is that pressure, that added pressure of legacy, of being, and I'll be completely just upfront here and real with you guys, as I am. For me, when my dad died when I was 14, I remember having that overwhelming kind of, oh God, what do I do now? Like, who am I separate from my dad? And I remember trying to get into music, and I do love writing, but I remember just having that realization of going, I'm not good at this. Like, it just isn't my thing. And really being able to separate your own needs from your parents' needs, I think is a really interesting dialogue for not just for the black community, but just for any community at large. And I find that very interesting. And they dip their toe in it because they are juggling multiple things here. I think they do a good enough job of kind of bringing it up, but I would have liked them to dive just a tad deeper into that pool early on. But yeah. So what another thing I did love about this movie, Sienna Miller. Yes, I'll just get out of the way. Oh my gosh, she's so hot. Do her up and down. Da 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 da. But Sienna Miller, after American Sniper, and I think people forget about American Sniper, she is an incredible actress. And between that and The Lost City of Z, I remember really going, okay, girl, you've got something here. Because I think with her, she was kind of almost falling into that Kate Beckinsale sort of role where it's like, oh, you're hot, that's all you're ever going to be. I thought she was absolutely fantastic in this. And she ends up teaming up with Chadwick to go ahead and find these guys who are cop killers. The aforementioned Michael, and then played by Taylor Kitsch, Ray, which... Okay, so Taylor Kitsch... So Taylor Kitsch, of course, was in Battleship, which is terrible. He was in John Carter, which is also terrible. He was in X-Men Origins Wolverine as a Gambit, which was also terrible. We never reviewed it. I watched him in Only the Brave. I thought he was actually pretty good in that. And I actually really did enjoy him in American Assassin. I thought he was good in that. When he hits, I think he really can be something. And, of course, Friday Night Lights. I really do think I think he's going to continue to get better. And seeing him kind of play this guy, playing this guy on such desperation and feeling this anger towards his positioning in life, I found that very interesting. I was like, you know what? Okay, man. And the dialogue between him and Michael, I thought was really interesting, considering they are friends. So basically, they end up in this. Pardon me. Wow, they having a little beer, sorry there. But seeing him and Michael freak out because they're in a situation where they go ahead, they're going to do this robbery. They think they're going to get 30 kilos of coke. Oh, fun fact: the place they're robbing actually has 300. It's at 300 kilos of coke. And what's crazy about that is, first off, they're just completely set up, and you go, "Oh, damn, that's unfortunate for you." So it becomes a big chase movie between Andre trying to go ahead and hunt them down, the cops at large going, "Oh wow, these guys killed some of our brothers in blue, brothers and sisters in blue. No, we're not bringing them in. We're fucking killing them, like dead where they stand." But then the concept that maybe this could be a part of something a little more sinister, a little deeper. I realize I just went full Stewie Griffin there, but my biggest complaint about this movie is that you can see where this is kind of going like 15 minutes in. I was sitting there going, okay, so this is going to be this, and this is going to connect here, and this will connect here, and da 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 da. And the director of this movie, he really does have mostly I want to say he mostly has a TV background, which makes sense. Brian Kirk is a director, and he has done, mostly TV. He's directed a couple episodes of that Hulu show, Hard Sun. He directed a couple episodes of Penny Dreadful. Directed a couple episodes of Game of Thrones, an episode of Boardwalk Empire, which is a great show, by the way, and directed a couple episodes of Luther. And I will say this felt very much like a long episode of Luther. Not quite as good in the writing department, unfortunately, but fun nonetheless. This is shot like a TV show, but it has that budget feel. So for me, I actually thought it worked well. For other people, it may not. Personally, I dug it. I'm saying it's similar to Luther. It's like if you took Luther and you mixed that grittiness of something like The Shield and kind of went ahead and went, okay, this is what we're putting out. I dug it, actually. It does have this grimy sort of New York vibe to it. It does feel like a gritty cop drama. To compare it to something like End of Watch, I mean, it's not as good as End of Watch, but it is kind of in that. It's very similar in that vein. The shootout where Michael and Taylor Kitsch's character Ray, they go ahead and they basically shoot their way out with these 300 kilos. I thought that scene, the action in that, it's so intense, it's so brutal, and what I do appreciate about this film so much is that while in certain, like spy films, like I will point to the Bond films, sometimes they do romanticize the violence. I love the fact that the violence just felt so raw, and it felt so gritty and uncomfortable at points. You see people getting shot in the head, you're not going like, yeah, that's great. You're going, oh my god, that's really intense. What the hell are we watching? It's great, and you get to have you get not just Sienna Miller. I really thought showing out J.K. Simmons. So J.K. Simmons is one of my favorite actors. I showed my girl Alea. I showed her some of Whiplash. Whiplash is one of my favorite movies in the last 15 years. I think J.K. Simmons is just the way he can go from intense to funny to comforting. It's really kind of amazing to me how he can just jump back and forth between all these different roles, and it seems so seamless for him. He plays Captain McKenna, and the problem again with something like this is that the moment you see J.K. Simmons, because it does that whole Chadwick Boseman, Sienna Miller, and featuring J.K. Simmons, and you go, okay, so they wouldn't bring in J.K. Simmons just for a one-off, like, oh, what are you going to do? He clearly was brought in, to be something. And the moment I saw him, I went, oh, so it's clearly you. Like, you're involved in this giant conspiracy. And he is. And, again, you can definitely put parts of this plot together very easily. I had the plot pretty much locked down like 20 minutes in. I was like, okay, so this is probably going to be here. This will probably be here. But J.K. Simmons and Chadwick Boseman, the way they act off each other, and the way they vibe off each other, it really does feel like you're watching almost like a comedy troupe, like a dramedy troupe almost, where the way they play off each other and the way they're matching each other's intensity, I thought was just inspiring at points. And the last scenes, as we get closer to the climax, I thought was just so freaking great. There's a scene where these two asshole cops, and I cannot remember their names, but these two very, very condescending dickhead cops, one played by Keith David, which made me so happy. He's Deputy Chief Spencer. But there's a scene where they go ahead and basically ask Andre and Sienna Miller's character, oh well, how do you guys know that the coke would come from Manhattan? And the way that Frankie, Sienna Miller's character, and Andre break down how they know it's from the coke's from Manhattan, or it's in Manhattan. That scene alone, I went, okay, you went up half a letter grade just for that alone. It's so well done, and it shows that, as pretty as they both are, they're not just pretty faces. They really do know their shit as cops. I really appreciate that scene. I think this movie does falter more if you don't have that scene showing that they're not just, dedicated to their craft, but they're great at their craft. There's this line that I just love that Andre drops where he goes, I never fired my weapon without just cause. I need to know you got my back. Don't need to have my kid waking up without a mom. Actually, that's what Frankie says to him. My apologies. But I love that. I love that line. And the problem is, too, I like Frankie's character. Where she ends up, I went, that's a bummer. You can probably guess where that happens and what happens to her. But I was like, oh, all right, fine. This movie, I know I mentioned Luther and the Shield. The biggest influence to this movie would be the taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Because New York, because these guys are trying to go ahead and leave the city. The fact they shut down all 21 bridges to go ahead and lock them in and basically quarantine them and then smoke them out. The way that New York, New York as a whole, or Manhattan, pardon me, feels like its own character. It is very taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. So I feel like they took cues from that, cues from Luther, cues from the Shield, cues from something like French Connection. I appreciated really everything that they did. The last shootout in this movie, I thought was just so freaking well done. I went, oh, hell yeah. This is how you do one of these if you're going to go ahead and do it. My only real complaints were the fact that the plot, it is very predictable. They clearly just kind of went, all right, we can, this is a point A to point B thriller. But as I have kind of had to tell people, pardon me, not everything needs to be, not everything needs to be an Oscar winner. Not everything needs to make you go, oh my god, I need to go and tell everyone to watch this. I thought this was just a fun thriller. It's something I'll buy just because I love Chadwick Boseman and I want to support the brother, but also because I thought the action was great in this. I thought there's some dialogue that made me perk up and go, okay, this is good. There's really not a line of dialogue I can think of that made me cringe. There's just some stuff I thought was underdeveloped, but nothing that made me go, oh god, you're being lazy. I thought this was just so much fun, and I think on a second watch, I'd actually probably like it more. I did only see it the one time, but yeah, this was fun. The action's done well. If they were to do a sequel to this, and I don't think this did like Game Busters at the theater or at the box office, pardon me, but I don't know. I would be curious to see a sequel on this, because where things kind of end up, you could do one. So yeah, it didn't do great. So Production budget was 33 million. The worldwide total is 41.2. So, yeah, we're not getting a sequel to this. But honestly, if they wanted to go ahead and, I think if you do a sequel to this, you put out in January when you do have time to have it, get some legs. They put this out right in the same weekend. I want to say when Frozen 2 came out, and come on, who's going to beat Frozen 2? So that wasn't smart, or it was around the time Frozen 2 came out. So, not great, but. Overall, though, this is a fun movie. This is definitely something I'm going to buy. You should definitely rent it. Or if it's playing at a cheap theater, I know here in Reno, we have our casinos that do, movies that have just gotten out of theaters and they do them for $5. Go see it for that. I think you'll have fun with this. This is a solid... Ooh, I'm going to give this a solid... Now I'm kind of torn on this. You know what? I'm gonna give this a B+. I will give this a B+. I had a lot of fun with this. I'm sitting here thinking about some of the action scenes I enjoyed, and some of the ways that they kind of used the Bible to talk about his own path of righteousness and how he's trying to bring in these criminals. I thought that stuff was actually really well executed. So yeah, B+ for me. You guys should definitely see this. But guys, 21 Bridges, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Let me know what you thought in the comments. You can go ahead and hit that like button for us on Facebook. We appreciate the support at TheReelOneal. You can go ahead and follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearmanthefirst. And you can go ahead and follow Colin on Twitter at TheReelOneal. That's REEL O'Neal, Oneal. And you can go ahead and share, subscribe to us. We are on SoundCloud, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify at The Real Pineapple. Guys, please go ahead and hit that share button. Go ahead and share this with your friends. Let us know what you want us to review next. We will have reviews up this week for The Irishman. We'll have a review up as well for Just Mercy. And we'll have a review up as well this week for Mandalorian Season 1, which I just finished last night. And I've got a lot of things to say about The Mandalorian. Guys, I know we're heading to a new year. What's a better way to start the new year than go ahead and treat yourself? Go ahead and get yourself some new jewelry. Check out our sponsor, Stad Guy Studio. That's STADTGEIST.studio. And use that code REALP2019 for 10% off your order. Don't worry, that code still works. We will be getting a new one, though, and we will update you guys on that. That is REELP 2019. Guys, thank you so much for your support. We absolutely love you guys. We will also have our best and worst stuff, as I mentioned, at the end of January, at the latest, absolute latest, first week of February. And guys, we look forward to doing this for you guys. We look forward to hearing back from you guys. Let us know what you want us to review, if there's something we haven't mentioned yet, and we will talk to you guys soon. Be safe this week. Have a happy new year. We'll talk to you soon.